All right, Thursday, we're almost there. Welcome to Frontline, 6 o'clock here on the East Coast. We begin tonight with some more judicial overreach. A federal judge in D.C., the Biden-appointed Gia Cobb, ruled today that the deployment of National Guard troops in the nation's capital was somehow illegal, even though it brought down a lot of crime and saved people's lives, saying that Trump lacks the authority to deploy troops to deter crime. The ruling comes as the Supreme Court is set to rule on the National Guard deployment in Chicago. Also, the September jobs report was finally released after the 44-day shutdown. And guess what? The numbers exceeded predictions as 119,000 non-farm payroll jobs were added, and hourly earnings were up nearly 4% from a year ago. That's weird. And the funeral for former Vice President Dick Cheney took place today at the National Cathedral in D.C. Among those in attendance were former Presidents George W. Bush and Joe Biden, as well as former Vice Presidents Dan Quayle, Al Gore, Mike Pence, and even Kamala Harris. However, neither President Trump nor J.D. Vance were invited. But first, Democrats using our service members as political pawns. I wouldn't serve alongside a single one of these people. Let's do this. We actually broke this story live when it happened the other day, but this video of senators and congressmen very wink, wink, nod, nod, encouraging members of the military to refuse orders that they might think are illegal. Caroline Levitt just teed off on the military, or on the media over this today.
The sanctity of our military rests on the chain of command. And if that chain of command is broken, it can lead to people getting killed. It can lead to chaos. And that's what these members of Congress who swore an oath to abide by the Constitution are essentially encouraging. We have 1.3 active duty service members in this country. And if they hear this radical message from sitting members of Congress, that could inspire chaos, and it could incite violence, and it certainly could disrupt the chain of command. That if this were Republican members of Congress who were encouraging members of the military and members of our United States government to defy orders from the president and from the chain of command, this entire room would be up in arms. But instead, it is the other way around, and I think that's quite telling.
Yeah. This is because President Trump is done playing around with this garbage. This morning, he shared someone else's post that read, quote, "Hang them, George Washington would." George Washington did hang traitors many times, including Benedict Arnold's British counterpart. But the Dems have responded like they're some high and mighty, perfect do-gooders, which they're not, saying, quote, "What's most telling is that the president considers it punishable by death for us to restate the law. It's not only the right thing to do, but it's also our duty." No, that's not what you're doing. And you know it. You damn well know it. They went on to say, but this isn't about any one of us, which it always is. This isn't about politics. This is about who we are as Americans. Every American must unite and condemn the president's calls of our murder and political violence. This is a time for moral... Shut up. You guys didn't say almost anything when Trump got shot in the ear or when Charlie Cook took one in the neck. Get lost. They think we're stupid. This is 100% about politics. They're willing to sacrifice service members on its altar for a couple cheap political points. Now, before you clutch your pearls and gasp at what Trump shared, sit back, strap in, and listen, Democrats. Listen to their words.
You can refuse illegal orders.
You can refuse illegal orders.
You must refuse illegal orders.
They're very careful to use special language. They say illegal orders, but they don't have a single specific. What they're doing is sedition. And I'll get to that definition in a sec. Democrats have been out there. Here's why. Democrats have been out there saying that everything Trump is doing is illegal, and they don't have a single specific about it.
What Donald Trump is doing right now is absolutely insidious. He is every single day acting unconstitutionally. He is trying to destroy the rule of law.
Then in another statement that I just showed you, encouraging young men and women to refuse orders that our opposing political party doesn't like. They're leaving it ambiguous on purpose. These people know exactly what they're doing. It's the intent. A lot of our law is based on intent. They're planting a bug in young soldiers, airmen, and sailors to question orders with the intent to erode good order and discipline and undermine the command structure, as Caroline Levitt said. Let me just read to you the legal definition of sedition under 10 U.S. Code 894. Quote, with the intent to usurp or override lawful military authority. And what's the penalty? A person who is found guilty of attempted mutiny, mutiny, sedition, or failure to suppress or report a mutiny or sedition shall be punished by death. Shall, not may. Look, not me nor this network is advocating to hang anybody today. I just want to be clear about that. But the death penalty, specifically hanging, is well documented under the Uniform Code of Military Justice. It was carried out as recently as 1961. And these people would benefit from understanding the potential consequences of their actions, but more specifically, the consequences of others that they might bear by their direction. I mean, God forbid one of these soldiers heeds one of these stupid representatives' advice. What happens when that young enlisted soldier who doesn't personally agree with an order, and some senators planted the bug that, oh, they can refuse that order if they think it's illegal? There's a lot of consequences to that. If you haven't been in the military, let me explain how this works. So the military structure, it functions on compartmentalization. Each person specializes in one moving part. And when one part breaks down, the whole machine is compromised. The reason our military is so great is because every single part is extremely good at that task, whatever it is. So that what happens when that young soldier decides, well, they don't agree with this order under the guise of thinking it's illegal because Democrat Senator Slotkin said so? And what happens when he doesn't carry it out? What happens if his position impacts others' lives and someone dies? And that order turns out to be totally lawful, by the way. Slotkin's going to throw up her hands and say, oh, I told him only to disobey illegal orders. Meanwhile, that kid faces the brig or even the death penalty. These people think this is some sort of political game. This is life and death. It's not an election campaign. And before I go any further, I'd love to highlight the pure hypocrisy here, where less than 4 years ago, they unconstitutionally forced soldiers to inject an experimental vaccine into themselves against their will or face an other than honorable discharge. I mean, where was Slotkin supporting soldiers for that illegal order? Nowhere. For them, it's just partisan politics. Our military is not pawns. We're not in some game. This is deeply personal to me. This is the story of my platoon that got stuck. I mean, we got stuck in the middle of a political game just like this. Almost got us killed, thrown in the brig, facing charges. At one point, the U.S. military considered turning us over, U.S. soldiers, over to the Iraqi court system so they could prosecute us where we'd likely be hung ourselves. Oh, you didn't hear about this story. Hold my beer. It's in this book. This is the story of how stupid political clickbait videos like Slotkin's have real consequences. You remember this guy from the movie American Sniper? This guy right here that was going around drilling holes in children's faces? In 2009, my platoon caught that guy in real life, the Butcher of Fallujah. He was also the man responsible for hanging 4 American contractors, one of which was a SEAL brother of mine, whose body was lit on fire dangling from a bridge by his neck. My team caught that guy. We were authorized to use lethal force, and we exercised restraint to bring him back alive for the betterment of the mission, because we were one part. And we did it at great risk to ourselves. And because of orders, so he could be questioned by the CIA and save more lives. Imagine if we had violated that order. After all, we knew he killed one of our own, and he had a gun when we apprehended him. So, honestly, Democrats, don't ever lecture me and my people on restraint and decorum. And when we brought him back, the same people who sent us on that mission, they turned around and court-martialed us for abusing him in custody, which we clearly did not do, which was proven by our full acquittals almost immediately in a courtroom, all because politicians wanted to have the talking point that they stood with the Iraqi people over their own soldiers. And the generals, whose promotions need to be approved by the Senate, people like Mark Kelly and Alyssa Slotkin, they bent the knee and they sacrificed me and my team at the altar of their political correctness. And you know what it did? It made every soldier in Iraq and Afghanistan second guess everything. Hesitate to prosecute that IED. How many people did that kill? Apprehending terrorists, or even pulling the trigger when they needed to. Hesitated for their own safety in a courtroom that might not come. Stuff like this gets people killed. It creates stupid rules of engagement, some of which killed my friends personally. because they want to play political grandstand games with no intention of ever backing the soldier up when he does the bidding that they subtly encouraged. This is why people hate politicians. They pop off like there's some moral authority without listing a single specific thing that Trump has done illegally. Because if he has, hey, Congress, there's a mechanism for that. It's called impeachment. You think he did it? Send it, but you won't, because he didn't do anything illegal. These are the same people who accuse Trump of an insurrection for this.
That everyone here will soon be marching over to the Capitol building to peacefully and patriotically make your voices heard.
But yet encourage our members of the military to disobey Trump's orders. That's what they're doing. These people should be court-martialed themselves. They know exactly what they're doing. That type of rhetoric from senators and congressmen is sedition. So anybody clutching their pearls out there, so morally offended by Trump sharing that post, he gets it. Look what they did to him. That's what they're saying gets people like me killed while they jet set off to their next cocktail party to raise money for their next election. These people belong in the dregs of society. They're an absolute disgrace to the service that they stand on. I wouldn't serve alongside of any single one of these folks if you had a gun to my head. Retired Navy SEAL and co-founder of Pipe Hitter Foundation, Eddie Gallagher, who was also the center of political prosecution in many ways that Trump finally settled the score on, and you were proven innocent in a court of law as well. Look, man, this is BS.
Yeah, I mean, this is just an all-new low for these politicians. I mean, even if they were in the right, let's just say, which they're not, but even if they were, just their ability to use the service members as pawns to get across their message just shows how much they don't care about the actual service member. If one of these service members goes ahead and refuses to follow a direct order, a lawful order, or legal order, their careers are ruined. Their lives are ruined. You're talking about dishonorable discharge or
which is being a felon.
Discharge. Yeah, or just being a felon. So, I mean, this is just shows how much these people literally do not care about the men and women who raise their right hand to serve this country. I mean, I've been through it, Carl. You've been through it. And I can tell you this, when I was going through all mine, and even with all the truth and everything that was coming out, not one Democrat decided to take my side or even look into it. Not one.
Yeah.
Not because they didn't agree with what was going on. It's because they don't care.
Yeah, now that's the most shocking part. But yet all the Democrats in that video all said, I served in the Air Force or the Coast Guard or the CIA or all these things. They're like, I served in this. These people, these are not the people that you want to serve. Unfortunately, the military actually has quite a few of these people, which is crap. But they stand there and say, I know because I served. And John Q. Public is like, oh, an Army Ranger? Like, yeah, I mean, he's probably an honorable servant. Look at him. They're just condescending people that are willing to literally do stuff that could get a military guy ruin his life.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen it before. These politicians use their service, which who knows what they did in the military. I mean, everybody's service does count, but they're using it as a shield to protect themselves from, from when they say all these outlandish things or basically commit treason. Mm-hmm. And that's what's happening right now. But the one thing I'm concerned about, Carl, is, I don't believe that, the service members, I don't think they're paying attention to what these senators or congresspeople are saying. But I tell you who is paying attention. It's the military leaders, the upper brass. Mm-hmm. And I guarantee you there is still upper brass in them who are on the same page as these congressmen and senators. So if I was Pete Hegseth, I'd be pay real close attention in these next couple of weeks and see what officers are on board with this, who they're not punishing for not following orders, and get rid of them. That swamp is still heavy. Yeah, well, that's the problem is, you had all these people that fought hard war like yourself and, are now out of the military. And quite frankly, some of the weaker people were retained because we had better opportunities outside. And it's infecting us, as you were saying. But Hakeem Jeffries, he responded to President Trump's posts about this, with seditious lawmakers. And just like looking at this guy, he said Donald Trump should keep his reckless mouth shut. This guy has come off as like some faux tough guy for so long now. It's like, dude, not only are you getting primaried by your radical mayor in your own city, you've accomplished nothing and caused more problems than I think anybody else. Yeah, I mean, This is like the constant track record with these people. They accomplish nothing, and all they do is whine, cry, and blame Trump for everything. And they still continue on these lies, just like this guy was saying, you know, Trump attacking Gold Star families, veterans. That has never happened.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but prove it. Show us with all the context. You can't. This is, I mean, these people will literally stop at nothing to blame Trump for every little thing in this country, even when it's not justified.
Yeah, I mean, I believe it was Democrats, too, where military members fled the military because they didn't want to put up with this crap anymore. I think they were down like 20% on recruiting numbers, and the second Trump came back in, what did they shoot up, 20%, 40%?
Yeah. You know, the best part of that little video, too, which I find is hilarious, is we got your back. Let me tell you something. You go ahead and disobey orders. I guarantee 100% none of those congressmen or congresswomen are going to come to your aid and try and help you out.
Nope.
You'll be nothing.
They were nowhere for people like you and I. Eddie Gallagher, appreciate it, brother.
Appreciate you, brother.
All right, coming up, Jasmine Crockett made another insane comment, shocker, this time about crime. And we're going to have that nonsense coming up later in the show. But first, SNAP out of control, the shocking amount of money reserved for nutrition that is not going to nutrition at all. It's actually going to fast food, cheeseburgers, sodas, and other junk in those states. Check it out next.
Charlie was the best of America, and the monster who attacked him was attacking our whole country.
Before Charlie Kirk died, he issued a stark warning of terrifying dangers ahead in a new book, Pagan Threat, authored by Pastor Lucas Miles. Charlie said Pagan Threat could save America and that you must read it. Get Pagan Threat free with Newsmax's special offer. Plus, get Dick Morse's new book, The Real Charlie Kirk. 2 great books with our free offer today.
A peace plan for Gaza. For the plan to advance, Hamas must disarm. Instead,
tonight, terrifying images emerging from Gaza. Videos show Hamas-linked gunmen carrying out a public execution as they return to the streets.
Hamas on a rampage, executing Palestinians, bloody crackdown, spreading terror. For freedom, not terror, Hamas must go.
What kind of gift can $34 get you these days? It could send someone to their ancestral village and give them a taste of their heritage, from mom's side and dad's side. That's a big gift at our lowest price ever.
Not again.
Your cold is coming! Your cold is coming!
Thanks, Revere.
We really need to keep Zycam in the house.
Only if you want to shorten your cold. When you feel a cold coming, shorten it with Zycam.
Studies show testosterone levels are at an all-time low, and you can see it in the state of our society. Men need testosterone to be men. That's why the Patriots at Chalk.com developed a natural supplement blend to boost testosterone production. This holiday season only, get Chalk's most popular bundle at just $19.99 for your first month subscription. Cancel anytime, but we don't think you'll want to. Go to Chalk.com/BF, claim yours today.
We want to give everyone the basic necessities of food, shelter, and health care, so that everybody can achieve the American dream. And what this administration is doing is the exact opposite. This is not who we are, and it cannot be who we are going forward.
Right. Sure thing, Dan Goldman. I'm pretty sure the American dream doesn't mean fraud, which is a lot of these programs, because when it comes to SNAP, that's exactly what's happening. Maybe food is so expensive because you've allowed 12% of the population to get it for free, and by free I mean you and I pay for it, not to mention the estimated 4.5 million illegals on some variant of SNAP too. And to make matters worse, taxpayers are footing the bill for SNAP recipients to purchase $250 million worth of fast food across 9 states, mostly blue states, by the way. Senator Joni Ernst has introduced the Excuse Me Act, which is going to try to reel this in, provide real food for people. And we can't forget how much is being spent on soda, about $4 billion, which leads to other health problems that make the system more expensive. There's also many issues with SNAP, and still only 29 states have cooperated with the federal government on this. Mostly red states. All the blue ones are withholding it. Other states not giving their stuff over. But whatever. It's an easy fix. Just cut off the money if they don't want to cooperate. Pags, Joe Pags, host of the Joe Pags Show. Sir, I mean, it seems like an easy fix to me.
Carl, breaking news. The American dream is not Dan Goldman giving you and me food, shelter, and health care. It's not. The American dream isn't the government providing everything for me. That's the Soviet Union dream. At the end of the day, SNAP should be a bridge between A and B. There should be no fraud, nobody here illegally on it. It should be food stamps like when I was growing up. Should be brightly colored stamps that you had to pull out of a book that disincentivized you from staying on it forever. And why are we even talking about this? You know why we're talking about it, Carl? Because Dan Goldman and the Democrats didn't want to reopen the government. It's the only reason why SNAP was even had a shortfall, even why it was paused for a little while, here, there, and everywhere. Had nothing to do with Republicans, had nothing to do with anything other than these guys and gals wanted to somehow push more Obamacare crap and more SNAP garbage and more entitlements on the American people by not reopening the government. We're only talking about it because of them, and they're the ones acting like they somehow were out there to save the day for those who needed food. It blows my mind, Carl. It just does.
Yeah, I mean, and this ties hand in hand with the illegal immigration. They say it's not happening, but it is. But down in Charlotte, North Carolina, they're getting that angle under control, hotbed for illegal immigration. And over the weekend, ICE arrested over 250 illegals in what they called Operation Charlotte's Web, which has now officially ended. But let me give you some background to what happened here, Joe. Charlotte is sanctuary city after a sheriff took away a partnership with ICE in 2018. Border Patrol says there were 1,400 illegals that authorities refused to hand over to ICE until ICE over the weekend took matters into their own hands. 30,000 students, though, Joe, didn't show up to school in Charlotte public schools on Monday during the sweep because they were worried about getting deported. Construction sites were abandoned.
You know, here in San Antonio, we just had a big raid as well. Underground clubs, you got trendy Aragua here, underage girls probably trafficked across the border. And idiots are holding signs saying, stop separating families. You've got people like Representative Joaquin Castro out there. We're going to do oversight and find out exactly why ICE is doing this. Carl, I'm all for our highways being less jam-packed with illegal aliens or those who are harboring them. And at the end of the day, now North Carolina is different than here in Texas. Here in Texas, the governor says, yes, we're going to help you. Yes, we're going to go get the bad guys. In Charlotte, they're actually aiding and abetting. I wish something would happen with that because these people, I believe, are breaking the law by getting in the way. But I'm glad that their traffic in Charlotte is slowed down today. I'm good.
But Joe, they're taking some of these people, a lot of these people are taking American jobs. They're not supposed to be here.
100%.
They're going to hold a hearing about why they're separating. Joe, if you and I get arrested for whatever reason, traffic violation, DUI, for shoplifting, whatever, guess what? What happens to us? If we have a child with us, we are separated from our child so we can go to prison. That's how it works.
Yeah, we don't want the bad actor to be in the same household as women and children. You're going to be separated from your family if you're robbing banks or, I don't know, drug running or human trafficking or being part of trendy Aragua. Your future looks like you behind the Gray Bar Motel and your family is safer because you're out of the way. This whole separating families thing worked for a minute during the first Trump administration. I think Americans are awake to it now, though, Carl. I really do.
Yeah, and I'm just thinking about this. If you didn't want to go to jail, you can do this thing. Not break the law. I mean, weird. I don't know.
Logic, common sense, reason. That's your problem.
We ain't got that anymore, Joe. Ain't too common. Joe Pags, appreciate it, sir.
My brother. Thank you, Carl.
All right. Coming up, another Democrat caught stealing money from the hardworking American taxpayers. Weird, you don't say. We got that and more in our Culture Clash.
Hello, this is Franklin Graham. This Thanksgiving, what are you thankful for? You're thankful for family, your friends. How about God? That's right. Are you thankful for God? You see, God made you. He created you. He loves you. And you say, but Franklin, my life is in such a mess. I'm not sure I'm thankful for my life. Well, that's why God sent his son, Jesus Christ, to this earth to save us from this mess of sin that we live in. You see, that's right. God sent his son, Jesus Christ, to this earth to take your sins. He died and shed his blood on a cross for our sins, but on the third day, God raised him to life. He's not dead. He's alive. And he'll come into your heart right now if you invite him. Just pray this prayer with me. Just say, God, I'm a sinner. I'm sorry. Forgive me. I want to invite Jesus to come into my heart, to take control of my life. I want to surrender my life to him. I pray this in Jesus' name. Amen. Prayed that prayer. Call that number that's on the screen.
When I first decided to invest in gold, I was a bit nervous and unsure how to start. Luckily, I found Noble Gold Investments. From the very first call, they made investing easy. No pushy sales tactics, no gimmicks, and no confusing free silver offers with hidden fees. Just honest advice tailored to my needs, giving me confidence every step of the way. If you're new to gold investing or want a partner you can trust, visit noblegoldinvestments.com.
Eric fought for freedom. He sacrificed his future. My son was 21 years old when he was shot in the head. He's still very young.
Did you protect them guys?
Yeah.
The tragic events of September 11th changed our nation and inspired a generation to serve. Today, many of those veterans urgently need your help.
At Wounded Warrior Project, it is our honor to serve this generation of injured veterans.
I am proud to have served under the flag, but I was not the only one to come back with stage 4 cancer.
After I was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis, likely because of chemicals from my deployments, my mom was lost, my dad was lost. He couldn't fix it. Wounded Warrior Project found us.
I'm gonna need help for the rest of my life. The Wounded Warrior Project makes me feel great when I see that logo, knowing that somebody's gonna be there for me.
With a gift of just $19 a month, you will provide, at no cost to warriors, programs and services that can change a person's life forever.
We need to support our men and women who go off to fight these wars for us. I'm extremely grateful because there were times where I would pray that he would just get through the night.
Please call or go online with your gift of $19 a month, and we'll send you this limited edition blanket honoring the 250th anniversary of American independence and freedom.
With the new generation coming up, they did not grow up with 9/11. They didn't see it on TV. It means the world to us that you have not forgotten the sacrifice that our family did.
Please give a little to those who gave so much for us.
Call or go online at honorwarriors.org right now.
Ah, this one's really going to shock you. Fraud from the Democrats, you don't say. The DOJ has charged Democrat Florida Congresswoman Sheila McCormick with stealing $5 million in FEMA funds, laundering the proceeds, and then using that money to support her 2021 congressional campaign. From FEMA, of all places. I mean, come on, dude. She faces up to 53 years in prison if she's convicted. I hope she serves 54. But to quote the great Sheila McCormick herself from, 2023, quote, "This serves as another reminder that no American is above the law." Correct. Kay Smythe, writer at Wandering Wolf Productions, and Shawn Farash, comedian and host of Ungoverned on LFA TV. So Shawn, no one's above the law.
I agree, 100%. And you shouldn't be stealing from disaster funds. Of course, allegedly, we wouldn't want to be the reason why there'd be a mistrial now, right? We don't want to taint the jury pool. But I think we've graduated with this fraud now. We went from, remember the 4 steps, right? It's not happening. It's happening a little bit. It's happening a lot. And if you don't like that it's happening, you're a racist. We've now hit the it's happening a little bit stage. Soon we're going to find out that even more people have been on the take. And if we don't like it, obviously it's racism.
Shawn, you once they're caught, too, you missed the part where it's happening. But let me tell you why it's a good thing, because we employed people with that stolen money. All right, speaking of stealing money, Trump is set to meet with New York City Mayor-elect Mamdani tomorrow in the Oval Office. I mean, Kay, I hope this is cameras open because it's probably going to be the open to our show. But take a listen to what Mamdani had to say when a reporter questioned him about how he's going to afford his free bus plan if the governor's saying you can't raise taxes. Roll this.
How are you getting that money, the $700 million to make the buses free, into the MCA if she's not for raising taxes?
You know, I think that the 2 clearest ways to raise that money is through the raising of the state's corporate tax to match that of New Jersey. I think that a lot of this is still a case to be made, whether it's the corporate tax or whether it's the personal income tax on those who make more than $1 million a year or more. I think that these are the clearest ways. I've also said that if there are other ways to raise this funding, the most important fact is that we fund it, not the question of how we do it, but that we do it.
Don't worry about how. Here's a budget, Kay. New York State 2026. Like, the money's got to come from one of those bubbles. You know, where's it coming from?
I am so excited for all of my woke New York friends to get red pilled over the next year. I'm so excited. There's going to be so many people moving out to the rest of the country saying, I'm never, ever going to vote Democrat ever again.
No, Kay.
And it's going to be all because of this absolute clown who's a liar, who doesn't know how to do math. I hope Trump rips him a new one. I don't even want to see the conversation that goes on in the Oval Office. I just want to see this guy go in looking like his smug, disgusting self and come out looking like he's seen a ghost. That's all I need. That's all I need.
Kay,
I am so excited.
Dude, there's going to be endless content here, but the problem is all these libs who are getting like pushed onto subways are going to move out and then bring their crappy policies with them to the red states, and it's going to screw it up for people like Shawn. Shawn, things that didn't happen for 500. The FBI employee suggests that he was fired for being gay. Roll this.
I knew I was on a list. There was fear after the administration came in that they were going to start looking at all of our personnel files where some of us did self-identify our sexual orientation. Some people did identify as trans. So there was fear early on that DOJ was going to collect this and they were going to curate a list and get rid of the undesirables.
All right, a couple things here, Shawn. First of all, if you have a beard and can't change your tire, shave your beard. And second of all, nobody was fired for being gay. And third, Rick Grinnell pointed out that he was fired because he was incompetent and he spent 16 years without a promotion.
Yeah, looks like somebody who found out that this wasn't necessarily a good fit for them, right? I mean, you need 16 years. It kind of seems like he got comfortable, thought he had a cushy job for life, and now he's been fired because there's somebody better. Wow, this is what happens when you deal with a merit-based system, right? Perhaps if you were actually good at your job, you would have received that promotion. Or, I don't know, I mean, you know, the FBI was DEI for a while, and he looked kind of white, so he probably was automatically out at every one of those promotions anyway, right? So, I mean, look, it kind of bites you in the rear end. I don't know. I'm just saying this is the type of stuff that he probably votes for, and he may be a victim of the bad consequences for it.
Victim. They're all victims, Shawn.
Yeah.
Kay, I saw this and I was like, oh boy, apparently the Bush family is trying to make a comeback, and I happen to think that when Jeb, his idea of high energy was to put an exclamation point after his campaign slogan, I think that was like the end of his whole thing. But they want to retake the GOP from Trump. Good luck, guys.
His heart. Oh my gosh, I saw this headline and I just thought every time I think of the Bush family now, I just think of Jeb up on that stage with his like weird chin thing going on, please clap. Bro, no one's gonna clap for you. Everyone who looks back on, unfortunately, you know, George W. Bush's administration just goes, Nino, war criminal, like definitely got us involved in a lot of wars that we didn't need to be a part of. No one trusts you. Why do you think we have Trump now? Because he came in and revolutionized the party that you basically like crucified.
Yeah.
Like, no, the Bush family is not making a comeback unless they have like a secret MAGA cousin that no one's heard of yet that's just going to come out of the woodwork and be brave. It doesn't exist.
With an exclamation point. Real quick, Shawn, they didn't even, I said this earlier, they didn't even invite, you know, Trump and Vance to the funeral for Dick Cheney.
Yeah, well, I mean, Dick Cheney probably wouldn't have wanted him there anyway, and that's fine. And honestly, if I was Trump, I would have said, no, thank you. We're not going to be there. I don't want to be there. We don't need to see that. We don't need to go there. We don't need to see it. Rest in peace. Yeah. That's what I'll say.
Enough said. Shawn, Kay, always a blast.
Thank you.
I keep my job for another Thursday. Well, all right, coming up, a horrifying crime scene in Chicago after a repeat offender allegedly setting a woman on fire. Yeah, reform sure works great for the criminal, right? Details next.
The press won't report the real story.
The American people are actually very smart.
Ridiculous statements.
These guys are just plain weird.
Actual scandals.
Even the immunity decision. I mean, that decision was so misreported.
That's my job, and I aim to do it every night.
A peace plan for Gaza. For the plan to advance, Hamas must disarm. Instead,
tonight, terrifying images emerging from Gaza. Videos show Hamas-linked gunmen carrying out a public execution as they return to the streets.
Hamas on a rampage, executing Palestinians, bloody crackdown, spreading terror. For freedom, not terror. Hamas must go.
There's nothing worse than losing your dog before their time. So why do so many dog foods contain awful things a human would never eat? To save his pets, world-famous veterinarian Dr. Marty knew he had to change what was in their bowl.
That's why I created Dr. Marty Nature's Blend, my breakthrough formula that's changed everything about dog food.
Nature's Blend contains nothing but all-natural ingredients, designed to help dogs with everything from digestive issues to itching and paw licking, even moving around better. And that's because Nature's Blend is freeze-dried. So instead of destroying the nutrients with high heat, we gently preserve them, and you'll see the difference in your dog.
Take it from a veterinarian with over 50 years of experience saving dogs' lives. I have never seen a food make this much impact on a dog's health.
Such a huge difference in her health. More energy, more playful, no more pooping issues.
He's healthier, he looks better.
Dr. Marty has thousands of 5-star reviews. And for a limited time, get up to 54% off Dr. Marty Nature's Blend, plus a free gift with our special TV offer. Call or go to drmartypets.com/TV. That's drmartypets.com/TV.
Not again. Your cold is coming! Your cold is coming!
Thanks, Revere.
We really need to keep Zycam in the house.
Only if you want to shorten your cold. When you feel a cold coming, shorten it with Zycam.
This is keratin debris, where nail fungus grows. Nonix Nail Gel cleans out fungus by removing keratin debris. Using Nonix, 90% of nails improve. Get clinically proven results. So effective, it's money-back guaranteed.
Make this Christmas the year you go all in on joy. At Balsam Hill, Black Friday is finally here. Celebrate with one of our beautifully crafted lifelike trees and save up to 50% off. Start making memories at balsamhill.com.
People always ask, why Patriot Gold Group? With over 10,000 clients to date and over $1 billion in transactions, not a single complaint on the Better Business Bureau. Consumer Affairs top rated for 9 years in a row. Over 2,000 5-star reviews. The only company nationwide where you, the client, work directly with an owner. Home of the no fee for life IRA. Gold is up 80% in the last 28 months, 275% since Lehman Brothers collapsed. We are patriots protecting patriots. Give Patriot Gold Group a call at 888-528-4290 before it's too late. Patriot Gold Group is Consumer Affairs' top-rated gold and silver dealer 9 years in a row. Call now, 888-528-4290.
I know this is going to come as a shock to you, but Jasmine Crockett's out there saying more ridiculous stuff. Roll this.
We have not dealt with the why. We have not dealt with why crime happens. And if you understand the why, then maybe you can come to a conclusion. The U.S. has the highest incarceration rate of any independent democracy on earth. Worse, every single state incarcerates more people per capita than most nations.
Cool. All right, stay PG for TV. She thinks we need to get smart on crime and not repeat the same failed policies of how about those people just stop committing crimes and then judges stop letting them out of jail 48 times in a row on no bail? Sure, we do have the highest incarceration rate in America. We also have the nicest prisons. We get 3 meals a day, exercise, health care. It's not exactly a gulag. You know how other countries treat their criminals? Jasmine? China, psychological and sometimes chemical torture, beatings and sensory deprivation. How about El Salvador? Routine beatings and physical torture, food, water, medical deprivation. And wouldn't you know, their repeat offender list is super low. Patrick Dorinson, the Common Sense Cowboy and author of the great book, The Common Sense Cowboy's Guide to Life, stories from the old guy at the end of the bar. Patrick, grow the bamboo.
Carl, if you took this pencil and tried to stick it in Jasmine Crockett's ear and tried to push it through to the other side, you wouldn't meet any resistance because her head's empty. Now, she wants to know what's causing crime. She keeps asking why. Well, first of all, criminals cause crime. Gee, what a shock. But the second thing is, and I'm an old guy and I remember this stuff, 60 years ago, Lyndon Johnson pushed through the Great Society. And what did it do? It created the welfare state that we're still suffering from today. We have generations and generations of kids growing up in homes where they've never seen a father and never seen a father get up and go to work in the morning. We ask why we have these problems because we've had them for years. The Democrats created it, and for years, the Rhino Republicans just went along and kept voting for the funding. You want to stop crime? Start incarcerating people a lot more.
I mean, I can just go. I'm going to get up and go home now. I mean, like, that's the show right there. I mean, it is unbelievable to me that they can't comprehend this, but they traffic in grievances and never want to be held accountable for anything, so they just let people out on, and they wonder why their cities are dumps. All right, here's another one. A man accused, who's another example, he's accused of setting a woman on fire on Chicago transit train, okay? He was hit with federal terrorism charge, thank God. Lawrence Reed. 49 prior arrests, 10 felonies, including knocking someone unconscious just back in August. I mean, maybe that's the problem.
Well, I thought Porky Pritzker told us that everything was okay in Chicago. So I don't know what we're all worried about. Look, this guy's another example of another part of the problem. We got mental patients running around on the street, and every time they get arrested, they just turn the key and let them out again. We better start building more prisons if we have to, and we also better start building some mental hospitals. Let's get past this nonsense that all these people are going to sit for a therapy session and then take some kind of psychotropic drug. They're not. They need to be incarcerated. Start opening a few more One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest houses.
Yeah, or ship them to, I don't know, a Russian prison for a little while, but they come back real nice then. Biden-era illegal truck drivers, this has become quite a problem now, from Uzbekistan, has been caught in Arizona with 5 fake driver's licenses after ignoring a deportation order, obviously, because, you know, that's what they do. And he's got 2 from New York and 3 from Ohio. I'm just thinking, like, how in the world did this happen?
It happened because we have people who thought that all of these illegal people, and this is going way back. I remember in California, first started granting driver's licenses to people. And what do they think? Oh my gosh, they're just here to work and we're going to give them a license so they can get to their job and everything else. Well, that was bad enough if they're just driving a small sedan. You put a guy behind an 18-wheeler, you got real problems. They don't speak English. They don't know our laws. They're terrible drivers. And we have jeopardized every American motorist who's out there. I do not know what it's going to take to stop this kind of thing, but I do know something, Carl. The Republican Party had better get off its hind end and start doing its job. And the Congress of this country, especially the Republicans, ought to cancel all leaves and start doing something if they don't want to get voted out next November. I'm so sick and tired of this yap, 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 and don't do nothing. Work.
What's worse, to your point, is they promise us all this stuff, and then they get into, and we put the signs on our lawn, the stickers on our car, we donate to their campaign, and then they turn around and there's like, oh, it's the process. And I'm just like, double barrel, middle finger. Patrick, we appreciate it.
You bet, Carl.
All right. Coming up, do you know where your money is going? A new report shows millions of Minnesota taxpayer dollars have actually been funneled to a terrorist organization in Somalia. Cool. Next.
Hi, folks. I'd like to tell you about YRefi. Did you know that as an accredited investor, when you invest in YRefi, your interest rate is fixed? And did you know that you can invest from 1 to 5 years and you can spread your investment over those terms to best suit your needs? And you have the freedom to take your monthly interest income or reinvest it, whatever you choose. When you invest in YRefi, your interest is calculated daily, you're paid monthly, and should you need your money back early, there is a liquidity feature. Would you like more information? All you have to do is call 877-80-INVEST. That's 877-80-INVEST, or log on to investyrrefi.com. That's investyrrefi.com for complete details. And make sure you review the private placement memorandum and scan this QR code to view the disclosure at your leisure. YRefi, investing in America's future.
Have you compared your Medicare plan recently? With eHealth, you can compare Medicare plans side by side for free. So we invited people to give eHealth a try, and discover how easy it can be to find your Medicare match.
This is pretty amazing.
I can go on a vacation with this money.
I have quite a few prescriptions.
That's why people call us. We're going to compare plans, and I'm going to try to get you as much bang for your buck as possible.
That's great.
This one here covers all your prescriptions, your doctors as well.
Oh, wonderful.
I have a hard time with this.
That's okay. That's what I'm here for. Based on our conversation today, I would highly recommend this plan.
You're so helpful. You don't know.
I'm excited for you, sir. Again, my name is Cham. If you have any other questions, give me a ring.
Thank you very much. Oh my God, that was super easy.
See how your Medicare plan stacks up with the big changes for 2026. Just call this number or get started at ehealth.com. Compare plans that cover your doctors, prescriptions, pharmacy, and budget. And compare plans from the nation's top insurance companies. They pay us to help you. How much do you think you'll be able to save using eHealth?
At least $300 a month.
Would you say you found your Medicare match?
Yes, I did. What Sham did, she explained to me exactly what I needed to know.
Well, I have a surprise for you. Cham, come on out.
Oh my goodness.
It's a pleasure to meet you today, sir.
What does it feel like to be face to face?
You helped me out quite a bit.
Call to meet your advisor. They're paid the same no matter which Medicare Advantage plan you choose. Ask them about eHealth Live Advise or get started on your own at eHealth.com. Either way, it's always a free service. See if you could get more for less with eHealth, like these folks did.
The savings are unbelievable.
I could see the costs side by side.
eHealth is wonderful. $1,200 savings in my pocket. I was really pleasantly surprised with that.
Call 1-800-708-0234 to compare Medicare plans in your area or visit ehealth.com.
eHealth, your Medicare matchmaker.
Oh, Minnesotans, this one's for you. Where are your tax dollars going? A new report from an investigative journalist, Chris Rufo at City Journal, claims that federal counterterrorism sources have confirmed that millions of taxpayer dollars, some of which have been kicked back to the state by federal government, which means you and I paid for it too, have actually ended up in the hands of a terrorist group called Al-Shabaab using daycare and autism claims through Medicaid. Autism treatment centers spiked in the state, with many opening up by the Somali community. With the article noting, quote, costs quickly spiraled out of control in 2021. The program paid out more than $21 million in claims in the following year. Annual costs shot up to $42, then $74 million, then $104 million during the first 6 months of just 2025. Autism claims in the Somali community then rose to triple the state's average, causing claims and payments to surge. That's when Somalians used that money to fund the Somali-based terror group called Al-Shabaab. I'd like to mention the money was stolen during the administration of Tim Walz. Dr. Zuhdi Jasser, the founder of the American Islamic Forum for Democracy, and Dalia Ziada, the Washington, D.C. coordinator for the Institute for the Study of Global Anti-Semitism and Policy, both members of the Clarity Coalition that opposes the Muslim Brotherhood. Zuhdi, I read this and I was like, I did not spend 9 years of my life in Iraq for this crap to be funded by my tax dollars.
100%. And, it's a tip of the iceberg. There are so many different organizations, some Islamists that have been funding encampments and giving, quote unquote, scholarships to those that would fight part of the red-green axis, if you will, on the extreme left. The BLM movement was fueled by a lot of that. We've been screaming about this back from 2011 when we testified with Congressman King at the counter-radicalization hearings in Congress. And now they have a farm team, Ilhan Omar, Rashida Tlaib, and now Zahran Mamdani. And the Muslim Brotherhood should be designated a terror group. Hamas funding through Holy Land Foundation. They were all convicted and went to prison for 25 years. And yet we went all the way through the Obama administration that then funded Iran, that funded Hamas, and the Islamist groups all supported that in many ways. Students for Justice of Palestine supported it on their website too. So it's the tip of the iceberg.
Dalia, your organization actually just issued a report examining the Muslim Brotherhood's comprehensive and multi-generational strategic campaign to transform, not get along with, not melting pot, not assimilate, but transform Western society, especially the United States, from within, finding that unlike conventional terrorism threats, the Muslim Brotherhood strategy actually exploits democratic freedoms and institutions to advance fundamentally anti-democratic objectives, like what we're seeing in Dearborn.
Absolutely. What we're seeing in Dearborn and in other places, and what we have seen in the past 2 years, especially the rise in anti-Semitism, and people today are practicing it with pride even, are all signs that unfortunately the Muslim Brotherhood has been succeeding in progressing through their 100-year plan. And let me tell you, it's not only about transforming America from within, but let me use the word that they use. They said sabotaging the West from within. It's a systematic process of weaponizing democracy and open society in the United States and other Western countries just to destroy this democracy and replace it with a very extremist system that discriminates against all and everyone under what we know as the Sharia law.
Yeah, Zuhdi, but the other thing too is we see what's happening in Great Britain, where they were welcomed in with open arms. Now they're consuming almost an unstable amount of public resources by not working and doing government programs. We're seeing rapes in Sweden. We're seeing, all these countries starting to fall, where someone like Poland, who didn't take in any refugees from Syria or any of these other places, they're doing just fine on crime. Why don't people realize this?
Because they use our freedoms to exploit the reality of what their ideology is. Just like in the Cold War, Carl, we had Russians that were dissidents that were coming here for freedom, and then there were communists and dedicated folks to the Soviet regime. Just in the 21st century, there are 10 to 20% of Muslims that come from these countries that are part of the Islamist movement, that are part of the anti-Western, anti-Semitic, anti-Zionist movement, that are our enemies. But many of us can lead, and we've been trying to lead and have been marginalized by the DEI movements, by the identity movements, saying that Islam is a race. It's not a race. It's an ideology that's theocratic at its core, and the way to defeat it is to use Americanism as a counter, which is our founding fathers' vision, which is against theocracy. And Dalia and others in our Clarity Coalition have been screaming this from the rooftops, but ignored by the establishment in Washington that wanted to be part of the Obama-Biden identity politic.
It's crazy. Well, Dr. Zuhdi Jasser, Dalia, Ziada, appreciate the good work. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, before we go, it's Thursday. We got some horrendous yet endearing names, people calling me on the internet. We got comments for Carl next.
I am a coach and an alum of Girls on the Run. Kids today carry a lot of stress, from school pressure to social isolation to overuse of devices. We create a space where girls can connect, build confidence, and learn skills like managing emotions, setting goals, and speaking up. Each child's experience is different, and families need support. I'm proud to be part of a comprehensive solution to youth mental health. Get involved today at EmpowerOurFutureCoalition.com.
Consumer Cellular knows there are a lot of offers flying around, but they slip away too fast. We don't play games. What you see is what you get. Bet you're glad you wore cargo pants. See how we can cut your bill. Call Consumer Cellular.
Joining us is Dr. Drew from the Wellness Company with advice for dealing with seasonal colds and flu. Doctor?
Cold and flu season is here, and every year you or a loved one gets sick. Your doctor can't see you. Waiting in a crowded urgent care is brutal. This is a particularly bad cold and flu season, and it's why doctors suggest every family needs an emergency medical kit. Your medical emergency kit is filled with essential prescriptions. It includes antibiotics like generic Z-Pak to get well faster, amoxicillin for pneumonia, strep throat, ear infections, plus prescriptions for nausea and UTIs, and even ivermectin. It's easy. Just match your symptoms to the prescription in your guidebook or call the telemedicine doctor standing by. Take your medication early and feel better faster. Having a medical emergency kit is like having an urgent care in your home. No waiting to see a doctor, no lines at the pharmacy.
Smart advice. We've shared the website and discount code below to save viewers $45. Order now and your kit will be rushed to your door. Thank you, doctor.
A peace plan for Gaza. For the plan to advance, Hamas must disarm. Instead,
tonight, terrifying images emerging from Gaza. Videos show Hamas-linked gunmen carrying out a public execution as they return to the streets.
Hamas on a rampage, executing Palestinians, bloody crackdown, spreading terror. For freedom, not terror, Hamas must go.
Studies show testosterone levels are at an all-time low, and you can see it in the state of our society. Men need testosterone to be men. That's why the patriots at Chalk.com developed a natural supplement blend to boost testosterone production. This holiday season only, get Chalk's most popular bundle at just $19.99 for your first month subscription. Cancel anytime, but we don't think you'll want to. Go to Chalk.com/BF, claim yours today.
Hello, this is Franklin Graham. This Thanksgiving, what are you thankful for? You're thankful for family, your friends. How about God? That's right. Are you thankful for God? You see, God made you. He created you. He loves you. And you say, but Franklin, my life is in such a mess. I'm not sure I'm thankful for my life. Well, that's why God sent his son, Jesus Christ, to this earth to save us from this mess of sin that we live in. You see, that's right. God sent his son, Jesus Christ, to this earth to take your sins. He died and shed his blood on a cross for our sins, but on the third day, God raised him to life. He's not dead. He's alive. And he'll come into your heart right now if you invite him. Just pray this prayer with me. Just say, God, I'm a sinner. I'm sorry. Forgive me. I want to invite Jesus to come into my heart, to take control of my life. I want to surrender my life to him. I pray this in Jesus' name. Amen. If you prayed that prayer, call that number that's on the screen.
All right, folks, it's Thursday. We're back with another week of comments for Carl. Let's get to it. I love when people comment without even watching the video or reading the post or any of that. This guy says, poor Carl, you're despicable for not caring about girls and women being sexually abused and sex trafficked. Release all the Epstein info and investigate all involved Democrats, Republicans, celebrities, etc. Dude, I've literally been one of the most outspoken critics. Release the entire unredacted file since day one. So before you run your mouth, watch 11 seconds of the show. Anyway, in response to kindly reminding the world that Trump was blocked 3 times for releasing different types of components of the Epstein files by a Democrat-appointed judge, by the way, Tammy, with avid reader in her profile, clearly hasn't read past the CNN headline saying, oh, Carl, not only do you look stupid, you are stupid. I can't help the way I look, but I am not stupid. Here are the 3 judges. Why don't you just avidly read about it like your profile says? Sounds like you're overdue for your COVID booster. Maybe a new Ukraine flag in your window. Who looks stupid now? Anyway, the libs are just so angry again. When you just present all the facts that are well documented, they just can't accept them. So they just turn around and insult you. This guy saying, you idiots must think the general public is stupid. Your so-called news is fake. This is the one I love. Actually, what's something unique about people on this network actually is, especially me, I believe the audience is generally smarter than most of us here. Most of you guys own companies, you work your fingers to the bone, you balance checkbooks and a variety of other things. Over at other networks, anchors often have this pompous view of themselves, knowing everything, besides never having ever stepped into the real world whatsoever. All they do is talk about other people's successes and failures. So no. I don't think the general public is stupid. I think people like you are generally pretty stupid. This is the problem with where we are in society today, is there is no consensus anymore on what is the actual definition of a good person, what an American is, and what a smart person is, because smart people have been silenced by stupid people so they wouldn't offend them. Schmidt, I'm so sick and tired of this.
I give you points for reading all this stuff to the masses every week, what people say.
I sleep just fine.
Yeah, it's always an entertaining Thursday night.
Yeah, not one of these people will ever say this to my face. So
no, good God, no. I mean, are you kidding me?
Take it away,
They
bud.
would cry if you walked in the room. All right, Carl, thanks so much.